I'm still convinced it's all
Rat
about the
Simulator
rats.
2020.
Yeah, like ultimately, yeah, like the rats are the star of the show. Like actually, like it turns out it's revealed that the main two characters are actually just
Just
rats.
rats. Just an imagination of rats. Just Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Super Agile Bros. You already know what it is. It is your boy, Bradston. I guess I'm like the perennial host. I don't even know what that word means, honestly, but I'm your host for the evening, kind of, sort of, with my co-hosts. First, I want to introduce the boy, Kyle himself. Kyle, introduce yourself to the people.
What's going on, everybody?
And, okay, so I'm just going to be real. We lost one of our boys. He's no longer single Steve. He's now married Steve. And because he's married Steve, we know he's somewhere he shouldn't be, acting the fool. So we just gonna have to just let it go. He might come back eventually. But in the meantime, we have a special guest. One of the homeboys from the jump. The one and only Marcus. Marcus, tell everybody hello.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so
welcome.
Really quick, Marcus, I've known, golly, Mark, how long has it been?
Since 2006?
2006, for 15 years. We went to college
06.
together. We're basically, I mean, to everybody we know, we're the same person. So at this point, so basically, it's just gonna be two of me on the podcast.
Oh God! Now you tell me. See, I'm not ready for that.
So Marcus is gonna be filling in for that third man spot. Figure we bring him in, particularly because today we'll be talking about the VGAs, the Video Game Awards, and even before I even mentioned to Marcus if he'd want to fill in, he had hit me up about the VGAs, and I was like, perfect. I was already gonna ask him, so I was like, cool, this is perfect. Like, it's meant to be. So today we're just gonna talk about the VGAs. First of all, that joint was long.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It was like 8 hours long. But we're going to try to cover in depth. We're going to talk about everything, our opinions, our feelings, and just everything that we can possibly do in a reasonable amount of time. So to get it kicked off, I want to ask y'all fellas, y'all Super Agile Bros and our Substitute Agile Bro, what did y'all think of the VGA? Substitute. What do y'all think of the VGAs this year? Also, like, what would you rate it, like, and why? So, I guess we'll start with Kyle. Kyle, like, what do you think about the VGAs? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? And why?
So VGAs this year, they were pretty good. I have to agree that it was, oh my gosh, it just felt bloated is the only way I can, because I watched it after the fact at 2 times speed, and it still took me like 2.5 hours to get all the way through it. Like, it was insane. And I had to do it with closed captioning because you can't understand anybody at that speed or anything.
That's right.
But the flow, it felt pretty good. One of my biggest gripes about these types of things is that they don't show the games enough. And so for them to just kind of really knock out, not having people talk too much was awesome for me. As far as a rating goes, out of 10, I'd give it like a 7?
Okay.
7? Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like you enjoyed it overall.
Overall, yeah.
Maybe the length, they could have condensed it a little bit. And, I got my opinions too. But 7 out of 10, solid. Okay, Marcus, how about you? What did you think about the VGAs? What do you rate it? What's your opinions about VGA 2021?
Oh, man. Mixture of emotions. I would say... So rating is hard. The reason why I say that is because the production value was like off the charts. I feel like
for sure.
From where the VGA started, where it was pretty much just like it might as well have been the the titular like gaming stereotype of stuff. Home dude was just like in a random studio trying to do stuff, and like no one was taking it seriously. All the guests were making fun of like games, and like it just wasn't cool. But to see where Geoff Keighley brought it is amazing. So,
thank you, Geoff.
Yes, thank you, Geoff. You're awesome. I guess I would be in agreement, like in a 7 out of 10. But at the same time, like for in terms of production value and it being kind of like them really treating it seriously, like getting Sting to come in and do
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even necessarily like a huge Sting listener. Not that he's not amazing, just I don't listen to him. But
He still
just the
got
fact
it.
they got him was
It's crazy.
incredible.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
so
big deal.
like that there is like almost like a 9.5 out of 10 in terms of production value. But yeah, it was ridiculously long. And I guess we can get it like if we ever get back to it, like I have some mixed thoughts about like what the VGAs even are.
Yeah, no, it's fair, and we'll definitely circle around to that. So thank you, Marcus, for your opinion. Because actually, like, I mean, I think I'm on the same page with you guys. I'd give it like a 7.5. Maybe round it up to an 8. I definitely really appreciate the production value. Like, I really appreciate how much Geoff Keighley, like, he puts his heart and soul into that joint. Like,
Yes.
you can tell that, like, he was like, this is gonna be my everything. I was thinking about it, like what you said, Marcus. Like back in the day, it was like the G4 TV awards. Like it was like they were trying, but it's like, yeah, like let's just do another rerun of Cops. But yeah, I mean, personally, I really I liked it overall. I think it just felt to me a lot like all of the digital like conferences that have happened this past year because it was Geoff Keighley, like
Mm-hmm.
Gamescom. It was Geoff Keighley, and there was more like celebrities and stuff like that, so it felt more awardy. But overall, it was just like, hey, like some trailers, some announcements, and you know, overall, it was cool. So I guess I guess circling back to what you said earlier, Marcus, like I've been thinking about this a lot in general because, to be very honest, I've never really paid attention to the VGAs. Like, real talk. Like, normally I just kind of hear the highlights and go from there. This year I really was paying attention because my boy Geoff Keighley seems to be killing it. Oh, by the way, I think there should be a petition to just bump giving them like whatever the video game award is and just call it a Keighley. Like,
A little
like
statue of him.
yeah, exactly. Like, I know it's kind of arrogant for him to do that, but I feel like we, as a gaming community, needs to petition for it, so he's forced to do it, so it doesn't feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
self-serving.
We'd accept it.
But so yeah, what do y'all think about that? Do we even need the VGAs? Like, what is it for? Like, what do y'all think? Like, do you think the VGAs is even important or needed?
um
So
like you
yeah,
mind if I go, Kyle, or
Yeah,
go
go
ahead,
ahead. Go ahead.
Marcus.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so I think the VGAs are important in a sense that like this is the first time you have uh here's the thing, it's like games are still kind of behind uh like the comic industry in the sense of like you know I think about Marvel, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
like things like Comic-Con and stuff like that was seen as very like weird and like this really niche nerd centric thing. It wasn't really a part of pop culture. It wasn't really accepted. And then
Mm-hmm.
once like the Marvel films got big, and then all these sci-fi action, no matter what it was, were debuting their stuff at Comic-Con, and then celebrities started showing up at Comic-Con. All of a sudden, like that
Yeah.
side of things became a part of like even somewhat of like the cultural zeitgeist. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
became popular. Games are still, even though they're so popular and enjoy, there's still a connotation to it, at least from my limited understanding within like the bounds of the US. I feel like it's that. So I feel like the VGAs are good. The issue with them I have though is that though like this time the projection value was great, um, it felt like another E3. It
mm,
particularly the E3 where like that people were mixed on, where Sony, particularly their press conference, they decided to make it like a show of like where people who went to the conference thought it was incredible, but people who were watching it were just like, okay, it's what is this?
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of I feel that like if games, like I want people to understand that what Geoff wants to communicate is that games are not just a simple pastime but they're a part of our culture and they have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of impact and they should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But what it really comes off as with this time, it's like, you know, you know, because they're not focused on uh the game developers as much. Like, for me personally, it's like, the Oscars don't need to spend like 90% of its time trying to advertise upcoming movies. Like,
Exactly.
That's
uh,
true. Yeah.
it's they're there to see, like we need, like, people need to see who are the famous icons in the gaming industry. Why do we celebrate them? Like,
Yeah.
what is all the effort and artistry that goes into a game? I don't want like the award being handed out to be like a cliff note while the trailers is this
Hmm.
huge thing. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like,
Fair point.
less, maybe some very noteworthy reveals, but really maybe spend more time. If they want it to be a serious award show, like, let's say like It Takes Two, right? It won Game of the Year, but at the end of the day, it won Game of the Year, but nobody knows anything about It Takes Two.
Hmm.
It's like,
Hmm.
if they had like, hey, here are the games you wanted to demonstrate. They play the music and it's cool. And then it was coming up and, like, let's say It Takes Two one or something. Like, there was like, oh, hey, here's like a short documentary on like the developers and everything that goes into it and what they wanted
Mm-hmm.
to tell with the game. And then when he gets it, like, sometimes they're doing like maybe also celebrating industry icons, stuff like that. The stuff the Oscars does, that, like, yeah, that's what my overall thoughts are. Just, um the VGAs right now are basically just another like press conference with
Hmm.
some outside fluff,
Yeah.
and they don't really, like, for Geoff, like, I don't think they communicate what he wants it to communicate to the world at large. And it's kind of tough because, game players just want to see trailers for games, and
100%.
Yeah.
while at the same time, like, they're angry that, like, a lot of people don't take games as a legitimate form of not only entertainment but like an art form. And then if you see a
Oh
show
yeah.
at the VGAs, it's going to reinforce that idea that, okay, games are just like this weird little thing that people like, but it's not anything big, even though it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
But
really astute point you bring up about, how it's kind of in the same realm, the VGAs, as the Oscars. But yeah, it's still, like you were saying, E3 is all about the games. And so for the VGAs to kind of just embody that same idea, it's pretty redundant. And so, like, when I think about the idea of, the similar awards, it'd be like, who was the best developer, right? Or the best producer? The handful of, like, developers and producers that we do know, as far as, like, at the highest level of the industry. You got your Hideo Kojima and the guys at Blambeer on the indie side of things. They're the interesting ones. But then, we went to GDC a couple times, and whenever they have their awards and they have the developers come up there, of course they're indie, but it's like developers and programmers are always kind of awkward. And so it's like you can't like, to kind of put them in the same boat as, like, oh, the best actor, when that person comes up there, they have all this charisma and we saw them acting on screen. And then, like, the movie that they're in took 2 years to make, while this game took 12 years to make, 200 people to make, And so, like, bridging that gap, because it is, a multi-billion-dollar industry, these people deserve to have their faces, the effort they put in recognized versus just the output, necessarily. Because there have been terrible movies where somebody gets nominated for best actor, right? But how many
Right,
games do
right.
you know where it's like, oh, this game has the best graphics, but maybe it wasn't the best game. It has a great, soundtrack, but the gameplay itself was bad. It's like, no, if one of these things fail, you don't even know the game exists, really. And so
yeah.
the effort
Yeah.
somebody put in is moot.
Yeah, and I think one thing that, I think Marcus hit it, and I was, as I was thinking about my review and I was sharing earlier, I was like, to me, it felt not very different from Gamescom. Like, it was just Geoff Keighley talking,
Mhm.
and then some game reveals. And, I was just like looking, I have a list of everything that was covered in VGA, and literally like the best performance or the best game or the best this and that, that's literally like 25% of what was shown at the VGAs, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel like it's like almost like at the very end they almost did just a dump of like the best soundtrack goes to, the best this goes to, and they just dumped them really, really quickly. And now, and I remember one thing specifically, watching it on YouTube and watching the chat. I was trying to see like what are people feeling, what are the gamers feeling, and everybody was just asking about when is Breath of the Wild 2? I want to see the trailer, blah 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 blah. So I think even in the gaming world and for gaming enthusiasts, it's not presented as an award show. It's just presented as a game reveal show with some awards along the way. And I think, like Marcus said, I think they really need to spend some time on the front end. And this might be hard because of budget and, people maybe not wanting to invest. Like when it comes to like, say the game of the year, like making, like Marcus was saying, like little documentaries explaining it, or doing little spots, like so that like the 3 months ahead of the Game Awards, it feels like something's coming. And also to like get more, like, the Grammys, it makes sense to have a performance, right? Like a musical performance.
For sure.
But like, what is the equivalent of like, let's show our, like the gaming industry's, what it represents on stage. Like the music is cool, but that's not what we need to see,
Just have a guy come out and just code live.
Start coding. This is how we change the jump. Like, and I do think they need to spend time doing stuff like, the Lifetime Achievement Award, where every year a different luminary in the industry gets an award for and then they do a little, like Marcus was saying, a little spot where they talk about what they've done, their history, and literally limit the game reveals to like 5. But that would be so hard because it's a tough sell, because he needs to get the money, the dollars. He has to get the people who care, and the people who care are gamers. And like Marcus said, gamers will pretend like they want us to be taken seriously, but really they just want to know the games. So.
And if the awards were set up in a way, it'd be a hard shift, but I think gamers are receptive enough to where, like, if it's presented in a way that's going to be, the topic, like that's going to be the focus, I think people would accept that because that's what they're coming there for. But it almost feels like a bait and switch whenever, it doesn't fit, I guess, what the expectations are. Because I would, the stuff you brought up, Mark, is like really kind of just hit me in the face, because I didn't realize that I'm part of that community that's just there for the big reveals. I don't want to see the thing that was revealed last year, even. I just want to see the new stuff,
Yeah, that's and one thing that's interesting is kind of like, it's like you said, Brad, is Geoff is kind of caught in a kind of between a rock and a hard place a little bit, because I remember when the first idea, like, he came up with, it came up for years, and he finally was like, yo, we're doing it to get, because at the time, you're not going to get like a lot of the industry, or a lot of the even the game audience to kind of tune into it. Like, what he had to do was like, hey, you're going to get like big reveals there. And so because of that, like, that got people to tune in. And then over time, you can show, hey, people are tuning in. You get more of the industry involved. They're willing to do bigger game showings there. Also, you can get other advertisers there. And then you had like the infamous, like, I don't know if y'all seen the Jeff Keighley Doritos and Mountain Dew image that goes around, where like, he was basically the like shilling super hard for like all of these corporate stuff, because he's just like, man, like, I really want this award show to be something, but we ain't got no money. But now we're at this point, but you've kind of built the audience and gotten the money off of like, hey, this would be a great place to advertise your products, your upcoming products.
Ooh, yeah.
And now it became more of a platform for advertising versus a platform for increasing the awareness of the games as an industry, and as a place of, you could say, technical development, excellence in art, so many things, and people take it like the people who are part of games take it so seriously, but it's one of those things where like, uh, you know, people outside just kind of see the finished product and don't understand how much like heart and effort and design and iteration and sweat, blood, and tears that goes into these things.
For sure.
Just as a Hollywood production would. Um,
Yeah,
people have the idea with that, but not as much as this. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say something that I think they should attempt to do is kind of how the UFC has turned around its image from like when most people I ever mentioned the UFC to, they'd be like, "Oh, is that the thing where they bleed all over each other and like they punch each other and break each other's legs?"
Wow.
And then I have to, like, honestly, like, I have to demystify it. Like, I don't know how many women I've met who I'm like, "Oh, like the guys, we're gonna go see a UFC event." They're like, "Oh, I don't like blood," and I'm like, I mean, there's definitely blood, but that's like not the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Point,
like,
yeah.
you don't even like that's not what you're there for. But the UFC did a good job of trying to really align itself with like number one celebrities who were interested, like highlighting them when they come to events, like putting them on the forefront. And then also they started to lower the entry point to get into it. Like, I think one thing the UFC did really well every time when I was first starting, they explained the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, on a base level, they explain the rules of what the UFC is. This is how many rounds there are. This is how, this is how the judges judge. This, you know what I'm saying? And then they have these commentators who are doing a really good job of explaining it. And then, of course, and of course, because UFC kind of aligns itself with an athletic realm, it has the Hall of Fame, like, fighter of the year, that kind of stuff. So it kind of puts it in a very like regalia, like, let's bring all the really important people to the stage. But I think the big thing that the game industry is missing, and I think you said it, Marcus or Kyle, is that it's really hard to identify who the movers and shakers are, right? It's like in MMA, you can name the top fighters. In movies, you can name top actors. In music, you can name top artists. But in video games, you can't name the people. You can only name the games. So you have to put the games front and center. Mm-hmm. Because if you go, oh, like random French guy, random woman who's a narrative writer, like that's not something we do well in the game industry. And I'm not sure why that's not a thing, but maybe it's because game developers are unlikable or something in general. But like, I feel like that's the big problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Somewhat.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say they somewhat touch on it. Whenever they do give out the award, it's usually somebody near the top or close to the top that comes and accepts it. But sometimes it's just people who are kind of, at the top of a group or a segment of the production of the game. And that's kind of cool. I forgot which award it was, but there was like a man and a woman that came up and accepted an award. And she was like, throughout the process, I know people were kind of griping about how things were going, but they weren't doing it to me because she was the writer or something, like she was the producer. But I didn't know who she was. And so it was cool to see her, completely in the face.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
I was only going to add in that, I definitely agree. I was going to say that Hollywood figured out how to do it. And of course, yes, there's big name actors that people can look at, but you have like best director, stuff like that. Best sound design, you got people come in. Like, there is some way to, because Hollywood productions in general are like involve hundreds, and in some cases larger productions, 1,000 people or whatever. But you have a few people who are the face of that, and like those are the ones who kind of like get a lot of the notoriety. But that funneling down helps the general public to understand who's important. It's just like it's kind of like Christopher Nolan is like only a small percentage of why Christopher Nolan films are the way they are. But he but when it comes to like, all right, who's running the ship, and people just go to that, and it's like, oh, Christopher Nolan's running the ship. so people know that, oh, if Nolan's running the ship, we're probably going to get this. And so like, yeah, I hope that the game industry finds a way to kind of do that same thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So something I want to do is I want us to go through each of the awards first. Now that, starting with our conversation this way, and then we can talk about some of the reveals, because I want to get your guys' take on what do you think about these categories? What do you think these game categories even represent to us as gamers? And like, maybe even more, how does a game even qualify, right?
Yeah.
Like, to be in this category? Because, some people, looking at the chat had opinions. Mostly everybody just wanted to see game reveals, but it's interesting. So let's just kind of start from the top. I'm going to just kind of go through a few and then like kind of ask you guys what you thought about it and go from there. So the first award that was revealed, at least in the show and the stage, was Best Independent Game. Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you guys is the best independent game was Kena Bridge of Spirits. Have either of y'all played that game? Because I haven't.
No, I didn't play it. I watched the review of it. By, what was his name? Skill Up, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I don't know if you want my opinion on it, but it seemed fine. But I don't know how it qualifies as an independent game.
Yeah. What about you, Marcus? Have you played it?
I haven't played it. It's on my docket. Once again, big back catalog. I can understand it being like, independent just because it's like, it's a new studio with a small team size. I think but the interesting thing when it comes to independent games is like it's like the production value of this is really good for what it is, and so I can understand partially like of why that probably went into it. And I've heard the game is fun. I haven't heard anything about it being like new or innovative in some way, or like that. And sometimes I guess for me a bias is like the uh, when you think about an indie game or an independent game, you kind of think about, okay, what are the new thing or different thing they're doing, because they don't have the budget to compete with like, the AAA studios, so they have to do things differently, in a sense.
Right.
And so like they had games like that in the category, and I was like, oh, interesting, kind of like the more when it looks like, I don't want to like say from gameplay because I haven't played it, but more so from observation and watching reviews of it, gameplay wise, it's not necessarily like rocking the boat in terms of platformers.
Yeah. And and this category itself is there's a discussion about what is an independent game, because we've talked about this before in our other podcasts, like what represents an independent game. Because one thing I noted about it was that the person who accepted the award thanked Sony partners and Epic directly. And I thought to myself, and this is something me and Kyle were talking about, like, you're up here, thinking, Satoru Iwata or something, like somebody, RP, it's like, this is different than like some dude who's at home, right? So I think like the whole term of independent game just more or less means like, who isn't Sony, who isn't EA, it's like,
that's real.
Like, like there's probably like 100 studios that are like big studios, and everybody else is just independent, which is not fair. I think it should be like best like low budget game. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like
because you still have access to those resources.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a partnership, but that shouldn't count as like if you're on a first name basis with Sony, even if you're doing your own thing, you are not independent, bro.
Yeah.
You're just simply not.
True. They got marketing effort, and I mean, it's like more people probably knew about Kena than other people, just because like,
oh yeah,
marketing budget, and like, Sony was pushing them in their indie showcases and stuff, while other people don't necessarily get that. So
yeah, it's kind of hard because it's like there might even be a better game out there, but you'll never know because it doesn't have that push. So okay,
True.
Best independent game. I mean, I didn't know about Kenna, to be honest. So I was like, oh, interesting. I need to look that up. I feel, shame on me being somebody who's a game developer and, really try to be plugged into the industry. So the next category was best performance. Now, let me ask you guys, because this is interesting, because best performance isn't necessarily best voice actor. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally it's almost like the best actor. Because, what's his name? Gian Carlos was from Far Cry.
Giancarlo Esposito? Yeah.
Yeah, he was, one of the...
Oh, yeah.
And first of all, he's the best ever. So, I think he always wins. But but it's like, it's interesting that, like, this is a category. Because it's like, wow, games have such a technological... like, have pulled in a point where, like, actors are actually actors. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do y'all think about this category, the best performance category?
It does seem kind of broad. Because there are, like, what do you judge that on? Is it based on how many games you do? Or how critically accepted your game that you were in did? And, like, if you were the quote-unquote best performance in that critically acclaimed game, I don't know the criteria, so... Because if it was like based on volume, my man Nolan North is like in every game, so he always gives a great performance. So I don't even know if he was nominated, but I'm a Nolan North fan, so
I don't know.
That's why I threw it out there.
Been in games here.
I don't think he was. I also think of why am I forgetting his name? The voice of Joel in the last. Well, he basically is in every game. Him and Nolan North and Laura Bailey, who I think might have been nominated, but like there's the trifecta, like they're in everything.
Yeah. It almost felt like this award was like, who made the most buzz on Twitter as a performance? Yeah. Because like the two that I knew were gonna be there was her, Maggie Robertson, who won, because like there's a big thing on Twitter where she was like everybody's video game waifu. Because she was like 9 foot tall and was like, ooh, this sexy lady,
Right,
and
the character.
Yeah, and then she came to the awards with the same intention.
She did.
She really did. So I don't know, that category, I think it means something, but to me, like, it's like, oh, okay, that's a thing, I guess. Who's gonna be the next one is gonna be dude who played Golum, Andy Serkis, in Suicide Squad, because I'm pretty sure that's Andy Serkis.
That dude's great.
Dude, yeah. Only thing I'll add to kind of what you're saying, Brad, well, besides the Andy Serkis thing, is the weird thing about best performance is, yeah, they should really like narrow that down, because like you said, it's rare that the person doing the voice acting also does the performance capture.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think in the case of Resident Evil that the woman who did the performance capture was the same as the woman who did the voice acting.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
And I think the woman, did the woman who win? What did she? I don't know if she did the voice capture or the motion capture. I assume she was the voice.
That's a good point. I don't even know.
It was unclear.
Or she might have been just the performance capture. Because in case, let's say like, God of War from way back. Like, yeah, you had the same people doing the performance capture as a voice capture. Maybe what, Hellblade, the first one? I think the same woman who did the performance capture did the voice acting. So either they should do separate categories or limit it to like people who do both, maybe. I don't know.
So I just quickly looked at her IMDb, and it looks like she was the voice actor, but she may not have been the because she's noted in a different thing as the motion capture performer for a different game, but she's not noted as the motion capture performer for Resident Evil Village. So it seems like maybe it was voice. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a little weird, but you know what? That makes a very good point. I think the problem is that, like, going back to UFC tries to explain some things. Like, explain exactly how the category is, decided. Like, best performance is by a person who does this and this, like give me the category and like the requirements, so I have an idea of like, oh, okay, that's cool, I get it,
So the judges can mess it up.
Exactly. I mean, there's probably a little bit of smoke and mirrors in all of this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you don't tell nobody because we actually haven't played the game or even know what the game is.
Sorry to cut you off, man, but I have to say, like, if we can somehow relate every category to UFC, that'll be amazing.
It's easy. That's my only like parallel. So the next one was best action game. So I haven't personally played Returnal. Have you guys played Returnal?
No, I want to. I've heard nothing but great things about it.
Yeah, same. Another one that I've watched. So Skill Up, he's kind of spoiling me when it comes to these games because, like Marcus, I have a backlog that I will never be able to both financially recover from and catch up with as far as playing the games. So whenever this guy makes these reviews, they're super in depth, and he shows a lot of the gameplay. He talks a lot about everything about the game. So I feel like I've played Returnal, even though I also haven't.
That's
and it seemed like a great game.
You just made a really great point, and I was gonna say this in general, is that the Video Game Awards made it really clear to me that like I'm not rich enough and I don't have enough time to keep up with what's happening in the gaming industry, like to keep up with the most latest games. Mm-hmm. Like there's just so many games, and I was like thinking to myself, like every game, like let's being real, I think almost every game that won an award I have not played. Like,
ooh,
I'm pretty confident I have not played any of them.
Snap.
Like, it's just like, when am I supposed to play these games? Like, they're all long, they're all pretty good. Like, like trying to also work and have a life is kind of hard. So it kind of feels like, how like most movies that are up for awards, like, I mean, I feel like I've seen them, but maybe it's because movies are just shorter experiences in general. So it's
I think that's a big part of it.
Go through like 50 movies in a year than to go through 50 games. So that's not a fair comparison. But yeah, I definitely feel you on that, Kyle.
But on that token, like, is it enough to play through, the first 10, 15 hours of a longer game? And can you judge it based on that?
No.
I would say no, but it happens a lot.
No, I actually think like Legend of Zelda, like the games have always gotten 10s, but I've always felt like it's because the person playing the game is like playing the game in like really fast to get the review out. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But if you're like an average player who plays it, you might give it a different score. Like it always feels like, I wouldn't give Skyward Sword a 10. There's just no way I'd give it a 10.
If you finish the game, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't even finish the game because I got so angry at it.
if you like the game, we know you didn't finish it. That's generally what I hear about Skyward Sword. I haven't played it, but I've heard that.
Yeah, like you have not played that game if you give it a 10. It's just like, oh, it's that Legend of Zelda, so it should get a 10 default. A mainline game. So anyway, so I'm gonna skip around a little bit more. Okay, I want to ask you guys. There's the category of best game direction. Was that it? Do you guys remember?
Game direction. Yeah, there was something like that. I think.
Yes, best game direction. What does that even mean?
No idea.
Like,
well, it's simple.
Deathloop won that one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Did Marcus just go silent? He said it's simple. And then he just went silent?
Exactly.
So disrespectful. Yeah,
connection's bad.
Yeah, my connection's bad. Yeah, like, I honestly feel like that's the category where you have to explain something. Because I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, does that mean the person who knows Geoff Keighley the best? Because I'm like, what is game direction? Does that mean like, oh, the gameplay's the best, or the way that they approached it? Like, it just seemed completely arbitrary. Like, it could have went to any game that was good.
100%.
So sometimes, like, what I could say, like, okay, like, if direction, like, okay, you know what? This is a shot in the dark. Not about direction, but more like, hey, this is where I could possibly see it going. If the game had a good sense of authorship, in a sense that, like, so, like, let's say Hideo Kojima, right? Hideo Kojima games, it's like, you probably, you probably wouldn't have to know it's him if you play like a couple of his games and you play a game,
Mm-hmm.
you be like, man, this is like a Hideo Kojima game. Um, and like it's like that. So I was surprised with Death. I mean, dang, I haven't played Deathloop,
Yeah,
but
man, that's on my
and
list too, son.
I want to play it. But uh, you know, I'm surprised. It's like because I had no idea what best direction was in terms of that. The only thing I can think of is like what game really felt like it had a really good sense of authorship to it. Like it had a very um defined uh style. And when I
Mm-hmm.
see Deathloop, um, I'm like, okay, okay, maybe it's because arcane stuff, studio stuff isn't as well known.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I didn't immediately see anything about Deathloop that's like, oh wow, this is a very like other like or maybe the art style of it let me know that it's that oh this is probably an arcane game. But wait, actually, is it an arcade game? I could be wrong. You
I
know
don't
what?
think I don't think it's an arcane game. I think it's
Is it Ubisoft?
yeah.
I don't remember who made that game.
I don't know.
Not even gonna lie
Let
to
me
you.
check.
I thought it's from the people who made Dishonored, but I could be wrong. But anyways, I was like, because wasn't like Psychonauts 2 in that? I haven't
Yeah.
played that either. But like Tim Schafer games are very much like Tim Schafer games.
No, no,
Yes.
And so
you're right.
like
You're right. It was arcane. It was arcane. You're right. You're right.
and so like I was sitting there like, not to say I could argue it because I haven't played either one, but like I was like, man, at least with the first Psychonauts, like, man, that's a very like that game had a clear vision to it. Like you like it's very unique. So
I've heard the
I
same
was
things about the sequel.
yeah.
And then
So go ahead.
I've played It Takes Two. It's on the list,
Mm-hmm.
and seen Ratchet and Clank on that. They're also on the list. So I guess it makes sense that all of them fit the category. But I'm not convinced that Deathloop was better than either of those. And then now that you bring up Psychonauts, like especially if direction is what we think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost feels like the best game direction is like what game like captured our imagination the most. Like it's not really like what game had the coolest idea or something. Like
Mm.
and I mean Psychonauts would probably win in any other world where Psychonauts didn't already exist. Like because
This is
Psychonauts
the
1
first one.
existed, it's like Psychonauts 2 is just, kind of inevitable. But I feel like maybe the category should have been like most interesting game. I don't know. Like it just feels like it's not a great
Innovative.
innovative might have been a better way to go, but it also I don't feel like that's like once again, a lot of this it's kind of like, when you go watch the not the Grammys, the Oscars, sometimes people win certain awards, you're like, oh man, I'm really surprised. It's like the judges are looking at something different than maybe what the public is looking at, as the criteria. So, who even knows? So
Come on, UFC.
come on, UFC. So I wanted to stop a moment and talk about what the most disrespectful moment of the night, which was I think best what was it, online game?
Ongoing?
No. What was it? It was Genshin Impact.
Oh yeah.
What was that?
I thought it was best mobile game, right? Or
was
something?
it best mobile game?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'm looking. I gotta search. But yeah, like I feel like okay. Like
Yeah,
to
it was
me, it was best mobile.
best mobile. Yep.
So that right there, I get it. Okay. They wanted to have an NBA, a WM. They had an NBA player and a WNBA player, right? Bring some popular people outside of the gaming industry into the gaming industry, right? They had what's his name from Marvel. They had two people from the Marvel universe, or one person from the Marvel universe, one person from the Star Wars universe. Like they're trying to bring in other popular franchises to kind of drum up some interest, right? Oh, cool, we got celebrities. But man, I feel like that right there undercut the whole awards to me.
It hurt. It hurt.
Because it was like, snap, yeah, you couldn't even like tell the girl the name of these games. Like that, if anything, that's like, oh, this girl is definitely not a gamer, does not care about our industry. Because if you were just anecdotally a part of the game, you know what Genshin Impact is. You know what I'm saying?
It's massive.
So I don't know how y'all felt about that. Like that kind of felt like, to me, where I was like, man, we ain't never gonna get taken serious. Even like the VGAs, you know, like what did y'all think about that Genshin Impact moment?
It was rough, man. I felt bad for her.
But I that stood out to me. At the same time, like I gave it the benefit of the doubt because like even though it was kind of off topic, it reminds me of like Arcane, the TV show. And the only reason why I bring that up is because it's based off of League of Legends. In my mind, I was like, I've never played League of Legends really. I know about it because I play games, right? But I was just like, what is this? I don't care about League of Legends. And then but like, and so like most people who watch it didn't. But at the same time, League of Legends has like several 100 million people who play it. Like it's one of the biggest games in the world.
Right, yeah.
I personally have I barely play I don't really even play mobile games that much, especially like gacha games. I just know about it through memes. I've never played Genshin Impact. I learned about it through like a meme joke. So and so like only reason why I'm even giving it the right pronunciation is because it's just more of like I just called it Genshin Impact. And if someone told me like it's actually Genshin Impact, I would have been like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
For me, it kind of hit that same spot because I did play Genshin or for a little while. I think I maybe put like 10 hours into the game, and then I lost interest because the gacha stuff is super aggressive. But I guess from just that little investment I had, it kind of hit me in the same way as the live action Avatar movie when they were saying everybody's name wrong. Because I was like, we're at the awards, right? We trusted you with the names of these games, and then you do this to us.
Yes. Yeah.
Immediate illustration of the amount of disrespect is that I get it immediately once you said that.
It's like you didn't want to spend the 5 minutes to just go watch a YouTube video that says every character's name and then just go for it. Like, and I feel you, Marcus. Like, I'm gonna give benefit of the doubt because she's a WNBA player. She seemed mad nervous. And just honestly, I didn't know who she was because I'm not a WNBA fan or anything. So it wasn't until somebody said Ariel Powers, the WNBA star. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense why she's so tall. Like. But other than that, I was just like, who? Like, to be real, I was like, who this random black girl just talking? Who? Like, she don't seem like she even knows what's happening. It almost seemed like an intern. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
A diversity and inclusion intern. I was like, okay, like, thank you. But yeah, definitely get it. But like, it just is like one of those things. It's like, come on, y'all. Like you could have just sat her down and like, that's the only award she read. Like, just like, boom. And I totally get it if you get names wrong, because who knows how to pronounce names. Like Genshin, get it. But it was just so Genshin Impact. Like, oh man, why? So yeah. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about some of the game reveals. Were there any of the other awards that really stood out to you guys for the night?
I think Deathloop won another one that I didn't agree with. Let me see if I can. I don't remember which one it was.
Any award Deathloop won, it shouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Game.
Remember which one?
The most game. Deathloop. Boo. Oh, best art direction.
Yes. Best art direction. Yeah.
Best real time strategy.
Deathloop.
Oh my god. So Psychonauts 2 and Ratchet and Clank were in that one too. And both of those games are gorgeous. I've seen Deathloop. Just looks. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it looks like every other game to me. Like in the sense that it's like it's not doing anything new with as far as graphical either not even infidelity, as well as like just interesting, ways to like artistically show something. Like a gun looks like a gun in that game. Like there was, didn't blow my mind in any way. But I was bringing that up to say the reason why I haven't been that invested in the VGAs, which I just remembered just now, is because they've always seemed like very political as far as which games get which awards. And Deathloop for me was kind of towing that line because of it kept winning these things, and a lot of people were talking about Deathloop. It's got great, feedback as far as critics are concerned, and I think even the fans, quote unquote fans, the ones who reviewed it, gave it high numbers. But then it's like also well understood, from what I understand, that it was okay, but like for it to win everything doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And like I think that happened last year with what was it, the zombie game? I can't remember it now. It was the second version. I'm drawing a complete blank. I think I wrote it down.
Back in Blood or
no? It was Last of Us. Last of Us.
Oh, Last of. Oh, okay.
Yeah, people were on the fence about that game, but I'm pretty sure it won a couple of awards last year.
It won Game of the Year, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I thought so. And that one was like, I know a lot of the controversy behind it was just like they didn't like the decisions, some of the controversial decisions made in that game, which I will not spoil. But yeah, I agree. Like, and it kind of felt weird too, in a sense, because it's like Deathloop won almost everything it was in, and then like It Takes Two won Game of the Year, and it kind of felt like, not that It Takes Two doesn't deserve it, and I feel like I haven't played it though, so I can't say, and I'm actually interested in it now because it won, but at the same time, I don't know, like some of the stuff just seems kind of, like it doesn't, you don't really understand the decision making that kind of goes into it. And sometimes you're like, unless something is a clear standout heads above the rest, it probably shouldn't win every category it's in. Just for the sake of like also acknowledging other things.
Yes.
And the last thing I'll say is, can we give? I haven't played Returnal, but that's the one game. Only reason why I've even interested in it, because that's the one game everyone I've heard who's actually sat down and played through it says it's like their game of the year.
Yeah,
like everyone, like as a game, because I gave it I'm like, what? It's a bullet heck. Sensor bullet hex game,
yeah, roguelike elements in there.
With roguelike, I was like, what? I'm not, and it's $70. Bump this. And so I was like, nah. But then everyone I've seen play it, or they're like, yo, this is like, everything about this game is incredible, like everything. And the more I hear about it, the lore and the storytelling, the gameplay, the surprises, I'm like, wow, I really should play this game.
Yeah.
I haven't got that much like follow up with Deathloop, like in the sense of like, like everyone says it's good, but I still hear people talking about Returnal.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like that political sense. It's kind of almost why sometimes it just feels like the Geoff Keighley Awards, because it's like Geoff Keighley can act like he's surprised. Like, wow, the winner is this person. But it almost feels like Geoff Keighley is like, if he sees something happening, he's like, no, I override this. The winner is this. Like, and it feels like, the best art direction, number one, I mean, maybe I'm missing something about Deathloop, but yeah, even just from the clips that they showed, I was like, oh, definitely don't think they're gonna win. Right. And they won, so I was surprised. And then like the game of the year, let's just talk about game of the year. It Takes Two. So Kyle, sounds like you've played it. Heard it's a great game. I've heard it's like doing cool things. I don't know why, but it definitely feels like It Takes Two winning game of the year was kind of like the underdog story. And it was done on purpose, because I don't know if you remember that dude. First of all, the dude, I can't remember his name. He's insane. But
Joseph?
Yeah, like, I don't know if it was the VJs the year before or the year before that, but he had a spot where he was, you know how Geoff Keighley would like bring a developer on stage and they talk about their game. He was on stage with Geoff Keighley and it was clear he was insane. Like, I was like, oh, this man is crazy. Like, he really believes that he's making the best game of all time. Like, he really believes that. And it almost felt like Geoff Keighley was like, you know what? You put your heart into this. You deserve this. And this
will give it to you.
Like, how did y'all feel about Game of the Year? You guys shared a little bit about it, but what do you guys think about Game of the Year?
Geoff Keighley said, I, your Lord and Savior of games, will give you, my child, Game of the Year.
Just wear a t-shirt.
Well, Kyle, you played it, so you probably have the best
perspective
reference on this. Yeah.
So I will say, It Takes Two is an incredible game. As far as the couch co-op thing goes, it's made by the same people who made A Way Out, which was also a great game. So they really understand, building mechanics that are intuitive, as well as they work together and making games that are super accessible. So you can pretty much play them. Like, they're made to be played multiplayer, and they make it with the intent that no matter who you're playing with, both of you can get it. Like, it's not, there's no crazy difficulty ramps or anything, but at the same time, the game stays fun. So I think it was definitely a contender for Game of the Year because I guess that niche that it was in. So it kind of represented that genre. And so I appreciate them putting it there. But as far as like winning, I don't understand why it won because, still the games it was against, Resident Evil, Village, Metroid Dread, two of the biggest games of the year. You can't argue, I don't understand why it won. It's a great game, but I don't agree.
So what you're saying is that Deathloop should have won.
Hands down.
For me, like, I'm not gonna, because I haven't played it, and it's one of those things. So I don't always feel that Geoff Keighley is like the secret person deciding who wins everything. I feel like, because he's basically like at the mercy of everyone who has all the money. I feel like, like he kind of gets a little bit more of his say maybe in Game of the Year.
Maybe.
I feel like. And the one thing I do is that I appreciate it because, like, okay, so a few VGA, like, okay, so like the first major VGAs where they had like an actual award show with like an audience and stuff. That year, that was the year that the Walking Dead season 1 game, the Telltale games came out.
Oh.
And I was like, I had no interest in that. I was like, okay, point and click adventures were cool in the 90s. It's not made by like Tim Schafer. I don't really care. And then at the end it got nominated for a couple of things, didn't win anything. All of a sudden, it had Game of the Year award, and it was like up against all these heavy hitters.
What?
And then like The Walking Dead season 1 won Game of the Year. And I was just like, yo, no, okay, Geoff Keighley did this. There's no way that this point and click adventure game won won that. And I was kind of salty. But I'll say this, like that next year, when it I can't remember if I think they finally brought it to like PlayStation Plus for free or something. I can't remember because I thought I played it on, I don't think I played it on PC. But I've actually played through it, and by the time I finished that game, I was like, a game has never made me feel this way.
I was gonna say, I was wondering where you're going.
and I was just like, yo, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Wow.
And so like that's why I don't want to say anything about It Takes Two because I haven't played it, because like it could be one of those things where like, yo, like maybe even if it didn't do everything to where it should have deserved it, I think it might be one of those things where it's like, yo, people need to play this game. So like all these game developers know that there's a level that you can go that you haven't gone to yet.
Oh snap.
Yeah,
now that you mentioned that, okay, yeah. I have to take everything I said back, because that makes sense as far as Game of the Year award. Yeah, this game will have you on your face.
Yeah, and I definitely speak out of turn. I haven't played It Takes Two. I definitely feel like it was political just because old dude was crazy, and Geoff Keighley seemed to love him. But yeah, no, I definitely respect that, because I do think that there are times where a game like Deathloop would have won that, because it had all the publicity and it had the cool voice actors, and like I would have easily seen that happening in a really like political environment. And yes, I do believe that Geoff Keighley probably does have some sway on Game of the Year, and I do think maybe his way of thinking about it is, what's the game that has the most impact? Not necessarily what's the best game of the year, but what's the game that has the most influence? It might have an impact on the industry. Because I was waiting for you to finish, Marcus, because I was going to say, like, I would say that Walking Dead is one of those games where, like, you think you know, but you don't know. You think you understand what a game could do to you, but you don't know. And then you experience it, you experience it and you're like, wow. Like, I've never had a moment where I literally sat there with the controller in front of me for like 10 minutes and said, I don't know what to do. I don't want to play this anymore. Like, I don't want to make this decision. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting that you say that, Kyle, because I want to play it. And, Shylene and I like to play games here or there, so that might be one that I put up on the list.
Highly recommend that you put it at the top of your list. It is great.
Okay.
And you both may remember that if you go back and watch it, whenever Geoff Keighley says "It Takes Two," he always has the biggest smile on his face.
Exactly. He loves that dude. He loves that dude.
Everything about that game.
Yeah, matter of fact, the dude, now I think about it, it was the other game, Get Out. What did you call it? What was the game? I forget it. A Getaway. What was the game that he made?
Oh, yeah. Now you made me forget it. A Way Out.
A Way Out. That's the game that he came on stage and talked about. And he literally talked like an insane person. Go back and watch it. You'll literally be like, that man is insane.
It's a good game, though.
it was a great moment from the VGAs. So let's talk a little bit about some of the reveals that came out, because half of the VGAs is really just E3. So there's a lot of them. 90%. There's a lot of them. So first, let me ask you guys, and we can kind of go around. Maybe start with you, Marcus. What's one of the games that really you were like excited to see get a reveal and were interested to see, like, maybe name one game. We'll just go around and name a few. Start with you, Marcus.
Okay, one game, Alan Wake 2.
I knew that was the one you were
knew it was coming.
So why Alan Wake 2, Marcus?
Okay, so I played Alan Wake 1. I thought it was cool. It didn't blow me away, and I thought the story was kind of interesting, but a little weird. Fast forward, as I talked to you before, Brad, I got Control for free through Epic Game Store on PC, and so I was like, cool. I finally started playing through Control. I stopped for a bit because the gameplay is actually pretty interesting, but like it didn't necessarily like blow me away once again. But then I finally picked it back up. I got through Control, and by the end of this game, like, you ever seen that meme picture of? It's probably from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where you have like the insane dude with, like, has the board of pictures, and he has like the lines going everywhere. It's kind of like a conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, the guy who's playing Luigi.
Yeah. In maybe I'm not sure on that one, but yeah, like I'm telling you, like, the lore in that game is so impressive, so cool. Like, I played one of the DLC, and literally I was listening to just audio logs, like literally, and by the time, like, you never meet a certain character, all you listen to is audio logs from this character, and by the end of the DLC, I was like, this is the most interesting character I've ever.
Wow.
It just impacted me, and the reason why I talk about Control, and not only that is the fact that, like, I'm sold on the lore. Like, the main like, even the story of the main game is like, if that's all you paid attention to, that's actually it's the least important part. But the reason is that, like, it kind of revealed that it's a part of a larger Remedy, as in the people who make it, the Remedy verse.
Oh, cool.
And Alan Wake is a part of it. And like, it's not necessarily like, it's not really a spoiler per se. It's one of those things where like normally like you get a developer gives you Easter eggs, but this one does some cool tie-ins that completely recontextualize the story of Alan Wake, and it went from being like a game that people were like a cult game that a lot of people wanted that I was like I don't understand to being like I haven't been more excited for a game like this in like years. So I
Wow.
want to see what happens in the lore. That's just me though.
No, that's super cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, Marcus hit me up. He was like, "Have you played Control?" And I was like, "He's like, you need to stop what you're doing. Put your baby down. Put it down right now. Just put it on the ground. I'm at the store, Marcus. Put it on the ground." No, like to me, that's like so exciting because I love game lore. I love movie lore. I love any type of lore. That's kind of one of the things that brought me into Star Wars. I never was interested in Star Wars, to be very honest, but it wasn't until one of our mutual friends, Brandy, explained more of the universe to me. And actually, I think you were there, Marcus, when I was asking all these questions about Star Wars. And it just was like, whoa. Like, it just, like, I was seeing something different. And it's from that point on, I've been like, I'm not a deep, hardcore Star Wars fan, but like, I've always really been super interested in it,
That's really cool.
So yeah, I've yet to play Alan Wake. I missed my boat when it was all the stuff going on with the the 360. But I know it's on PC now, so I need to play that and I need to play Control. I just love when I hear like, oh, a game has lore and I need to play both games to understand. Yes, like check.
Just to cut in real quick, just to let you know, the original version is on PC as well. That's how I played it. So and it actually still plays fine. So I don't even know if the remastered version even like improves much on like it's an improvement for the 360 to the Xbox, but on PC probably not a lot. So
okay,
if you can find the original version for really cheap, that might work too. So
okay,
just saying.
Yeah, for sure. No, so Alan Wake 2 definitely on the list, and I Control and Alan Wake 1 also on the list. Welcome to the backlog, fool. You're never escaping. What about you, Kyle? I almost called you Carlos.
Yes, this is Carlos.
What's up, Carlos? What game trailer comes to mind? Popped out for you?
So just briefly, I did play both Alan Wake 1 and Control for a little while. I have a very low tolerance for like creepy games, so I didn't get very far in either of them. But I appreciate that they're connected though, because that makes a whole lot of sense. Because they were both equally as creepy to me. So I won't be playing Alan Wake 2, but if you want to tell me about it, I'll listen reluctantly.
Just watch a YouTube video.
I might. But so the game I'm kind of interested in that was revealed here was the Wonder Woman game. Okay. I'm a stickler for superheroes. The latest superhero games, aside from the Avengers game, they've all been really good, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. I forgot who the developer was, but they developed another game recently that was very good. I'm drawing a complete blank, but it hardly matters. Yeah, it was funny though when he was talking about it, Geoff. He was like, "I'm surprised that this game wasn't leaked before the reveal."
Oh, Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, like, you're talking about the same dudes who made Arkham Asylum, right?
Is it those guys?
No, it's not them. It's not this. It's Monolith is making it.
Monolith. No. Is it Monolith? I don't know.
Is it Monolith or Monarch or something?
I don't remember.
I'll look it up, but. Yeah, I remember seeing going like, oh, this is probably going to be good.
Yeah. Whoever the developer is, I was 100% convinced that it's at least going to be decent as long as they have full creative liberty over it. But I just find it funny that that's the day and age we live in, is that like he had to say it verbally. I'm surprised this Marvel new thing wasn't leaked in any capacity. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, it's the same dudes who made what's it called, Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor.
That's what it was. Yeah,
who made that? I can't remember who made that, but yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because everything gets leaked. Everything gets leaked now. So to me, it's always interesting when I see a game that's a teaser. I just go interesting. I like that they have a concept, like when they did the Wolverine in whatever was Gamescom or something. I was like interesting. I want to see what you might do with it.
Right.
So yeah, that's cool. I'm interested in that. See where it comes. I mean, honestly, superhero games have really. I mean, you know what blew my mind? That I forgot to say this. That Guardians of the Galaxy won Best Story Narrative.
Oh yeah.
And I said,
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta go play this because I am very surprised. You know,
So
I've
been playing that game too. But see, the reason why I partially asked earlier if it's okay to play like 15 hours of a game and do a review is because that's kind of where I am now in my life. Is that I play a game until I feel like I've either gotten the gist of it or something happens that takes me away from it, and I pick up something new instead of going back into it. And so yeah, I played. I think it said I was at like 40% of Guardians, and it's also a very good game. Not to spoil anything, but I think it got the award it did because it's very similar in tone to the MCU's representation of the Guardians.
Okay.
But because it's interactive, it's pretty fun. Writing. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I definitely want to check out too many games on the I still need to finish God of War. Like, I gotta have. I want to have a whole episode about God of War because I have some like very interesting thoughts about it. But that's a whole nother thing. So, okay, I want to talk about a trailer that captivated my mind because the game seemed so trash. So I don't even know if it was a trailer or just a game that showed up during those like kind of commercial breaks. But I don't know if y'all remember this, but it was Star Trek Resurgence. Do y'all remember?
Yeah.
Yo.
Yes, I did see that one. Yeah.
That junk looked like one of the worst games I've ever seen, like in this era. Like, it legitimately looked... First, I thought it was a mobile game. So I was like, I let it go. I was playing for a little bit, and I was like, yo, this game looks so trash. And I was like, oh, maybe it's a mobile game. So it's unfair for me to judge it. At the end, I saw there was a PS4, PS5 game, and I was like, absolutely not. Give me my money back. I haven't even bought it. I want my money back. Like, genuinely, it looks... I've never seen a game that looks unfun. Like, it does. It literally just looked like, hi, Negative. My name is Chris. Do you like talking? Like, it looks so bad, man.
Yo, them graphics look real, though. Did you see Spock?
I mean, they made Spock look good. Like,
yeah, he was the only one. But
he's literally the only one that looked good. Everybody else just looked... Like, the game looked so bad, son. I was just like, please. Like, I would have been better off just doing a Wonder Woman and just showing the Star Trek the symbol and just saying Resurgence. And I'd have been like, ooh, interesting.
Hype. Well, you know who made the last Star Trek game?
Who?
It was IBM, wasn't it? Or they had a part of it.
Oh yes, yeah. Star Trek Bridge Crew. That's the Watson thing. Yeah, that's a whole nother.
I heard about that. I never experienced that.
High hopes.
But I don't know. Like when I saw Resurgence, of course, it literally didn't interest me at all. Like I might have fell asleep. Oh yeah. By the way, sorry to mention this. Monolith is the company that's making Wonder Woman.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Okay, and they made Shadow of Mordor.
Okay, that's okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I saw it, like I was like, what is this? I'm like, oh, is it Star Trek? And then I was looking at it, I was like, oh, it kind of reminds me of a Quantic Dream game, style game when I saw it. And I immediately lost interest because of that.
Ooh.
Quantic Dream was always just trying to do a thing. Like they're not concerned about if the game is fun. They're just like, we want you to experience the thing.
Don't make me talk about Heavy Rain. I'm gonna get angry.
Did you play not the game, the most recent one that was
Detroit Become Human?
Not Detroit.
Was that them?
I don't know.
Yeah. That's
the game with the girl who had the psychic powers.
You talking about
Beyond Two Souls?
Have y'all played Beyond Two Souls?
As much as I can stomach.
Because didn't they give away for free?
They gave it for free.
I played like the first like 20 minutes of it, and then I was like, yeah, I'm still playing a Quantic Dream game. And I went down.
Yo, I want y'all to finish that game because nobody I know has finished that game, and I need to talk to somebody about the ending of that.
Quantic Dream didn't.
They're like, what did let it happen? No, honestly, I need to talk to somebody about that game because I'm like, the ending. First of all, I think there's multiple endings, but the ending is just
most likely.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's a tangent. That I'll just write that down. One day somebody will play the Quantum, finish Two Souls, and tell me what they think, because that was a game experience. So yes,
watch a playthrough.
Yeah, like
there we go.
It's definitely a game where like you have to watch the full playthrough because of a lot of the stupid stuff that happens in it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Going to a game that actually interests me. I was actually like pulled in a little bit to Suicide Squad.
Ooh,
I was like, yo, this looks super like fun. Like it just looked like just poppy. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of juice, a lot of just stuff happening. You know, of course, Andy Serkis. That was just Andy Serkis, and like it just and it's made by Rocksteady, who I think is a great developer. So I was like, oh, you already got me. You already got me on the team. But that game, honestly, like it had on me, I'm just going to say this, the DokeV effect, where like, I don't like know if DokeV is going to be good, but it immediately drew my eye to it. I was like, what's happening here? You know, like, oh, this is interesting. Like what, you know, like this game looks like it could be, you know, like, so I don't know, like to me, Suicide Squad was the game that kind of really, I walked away like, oh, I wonder what this is going to be like. You know, I don't know what y'all thought about Suicide Squad.
Wait, hold up, Brad. Like, I'm sorry. When you talk about it gave the DokeV effect, and I immediately thought about the DokeV like part they had during this, and I was just like,
Yo, I want to bring that up. I honestly watched that joint intently. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I watched that whole thing, and I was like, this is so cool.
The fever dream.
I was like, what am I watching? But I love it. I don't know. There's something about DokeV that I'm a fan.
Yeah, they got subliminal messages in there or something. You're taking over your brain, bro.
There was something about that where I was just when I was thinking of the DokeV thing, and I was over here like watching it. I was just like, felt like uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was just like,
all the characters were looking directly into the camera.
In the camera, they got the big heads, but their bodies are like weirdly like. One to one with the dancing, and everybody, it was actual people. You could tell because they weren't like uniform, and I was like, this is so strange. Keep dancing. And then like
think about it.
Yeah, it was it was very strange, and it would switch through, it would transition between scenes like very seamlessly, and like in the background there was stuff happening. I was like, what is happening? Like
this was a lot.
And it was bright and it was colorful, and it was that same little stupid song. It was popping. It was popping.
So I even watched that part at 2x speed, and that's an experience. So
that's the most craziest crackheaded thing ever.
I suggest it.
I will do it. I will do it right after this.
Sorry, I'll get back to like what I thought of Suicide Squad, but I just want to say that the part about that made me so weird was it's like, you know, you're advertising that, but in my mind, I was just like, just imagine like you have all these grown men just like, yo, man, I can't wait to play with all these children.
Oh, no.
Just super hype. Like,
the implications.
I love it. Look at all these little kids. Yeah, it's definitely like a weird, if anything, to me, like, imagine like somebody walked in on you watching the VGAs and like right when that happened, and they're like, nope, I'm out.
Like, no, it's the Game Awards, I promise.
I promise you, Mom, it's the VGAs.
That's like every time someone watches anime, and like it can be completely fine, but as soon as someone walks in, it's the most like
most inappropriate, cool part. Fan servicey moment. And you're like, no, this is what the anime is about.
So this what you watch?
It's Parasite. I'm telling you, it's not about this.
This why your door was closed.
Oh man! Just super side note. It reminds me of a story when I was a kid. I was playing Soul Calibur, I think 4 or 3, and I loved Ivy. That was like one of my favorite characters.
Oh no!
And I was playing with her, and I was like training with her, and my mom hadn't come home from work, and right when I was playing like the story mode. And right when she walks in from work, it's a scene where Ivy is wearing the most inappropriate outfit, the most physics, and they're zoomed in on her. She's like, boy, what are you watching? And I was like, no, Mom. No. Yeah, like, you got to play. You got to every time. But anyway, Suicide Squad.
You go, Kyle.
Oh, did you give your thoughts on Suicide Squad, Marcus?
No, but I want you to go first.
Oh, yeah. So I think it looks good. It looks like it kind of ticks a lot of the boxes as far as like those action packed shooters. I couldn't tell if it was primarily over the shoulder or if it's like a pulled out camera or if it was first person. I gotta go watch it again. But yeah, definitely full of juice. The action was over the top. I was a little curious because the name suggests something more grand, but the trailer, it seemed like Flash was the focal point, and they were like, kill the Justice League, but then it was just Flash. So
yeah, they said that he was being controlled by what's his name, Megamind. What's it? Not Megamind. The dude who has I can't remember, but yeah, he's being controlled. So
all I can think of is MODOK, but he's from Marvel. I don't know who it is.
You mean Brainiac?
Brainiac. I think he said Brainiac. I think he said Brainiac.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah. What about you, Marcus? What do you think?
I'm sorry, man. Once you brought up that DokeV thing, and now all of a sudden I'm just attaching that to Suicide Squad, and particularly that music. And somehow now that music's playing with the.
Oh, we need to just make a YouTube video where we just overlay that music.
So with me, I love like Rocksteady had like the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. I have Arkham Knight, and I love it. It's just that like I look at that menu with all the stuff, and I'm like, man, I can't do this. I'm gonna play this game for like 3 years.
Oh,
so I haven't. I keep installing it, uninstalling it, not because it's not good. It's because I'm like, I don't want to play this one game for the rest of my life.
That's the only game I want.
Yeah, like I think like it, like of course visually it looks really good. And it's kind of living up to like the CGI stuff that it was showing before. And I liked a lot of the stuff. There's something weird though, like where I wasn't as like I will play it just because I trust Rocksteady.
Yeah.
But it didn't blow me away, and I think particularly it's because like I start to see the limitations of the medium in a sense. Like the game itself could be interesting, but I was just like, I'm telling you, man, like if like 90% of the games weren't just like third person shooters, like I was just like, it's just kind of like, man, it's the only way gameplay can work is if you like, give the character a gun and then like, have them shoot things. It's like
interesting.
And I feel like that's part of an issue in our medium is that like
trends.
You can do so much with games because it's interactive, but the primary way that fun is generated is that like, oh hey, you have to give this character a gun and they have to shoot things. And like I love shooters. Like I absolutely love them. But like when I saw the trailer, like it was like it looked more to me like gameplay wise, it looked more like more of the other games I saw. Like the visuals look good. And so like I know that once the game probably gets in your hands, you'll kind of see that difference, and it's going to be great because it's Rocksteady. But just from watching it, I was just kind of like, yeah, it didn't blow me away.
That's interesting. So like the gameplay itself, because of, I don't want to say that it's not repetitive, but like it just kind of is what every other game is now, right? Like, oh, like this is how you play. It kind of like destroys the feeling of like, oh, this is going to be really cool, because it feels like reductive. Like, oh, this is just what it is. Okay, cool. I'm just going to shoot stuff, And I can feel that. I can totally feel that. And I think that's just a problem with the gaming industry. Like, I can't remember what game it was, but it was like this weird, there's a first person shooter trailer that I was like, why is this here? Like, I don't need another first person shooter. Like, I'm done with this. Like, it was some random Crossfire. I think it was called Crossfire.
Oh, yeah. And
I was thinking that as you were talking.
I was like, what is this game? And like honestly, dude, like, don't show me this. Just tell me about the storyline and trick me into playing it. Like, I'm not interested in this. So I could totally feel that. I have a feeling because of how Rocksteady, not that they'll do it again, but like Rocksteady really reinvented like hand-to-hand combat with Batman, how they did it. I'm like, I hope they bring that same type of like, hey, let's do something new and original with this type of genre, and because they were doing some interesting stuff, like you could see people had like kind of special moves and like shooting, and then they do a thing.
Yeah.
So
I
wonder,
like that part.
I wonder how that's gonna all come together. But I can 100% feel you, 100%.
It seemed a lot like they were gonna pull from because even if in that genre, like hero shooters are becoming a thing because it's already that blend of, you having that shooting mechanic, and I think it's besides just being like trendy. It's also very familiar, kind of in the same vein as first-person shooters. But from my experience, third-person games are more accessible as far as like motion sickness and stuff. And people seem to be able to navigate better. And so I think a lot of the decisions are driven, unfortunately, because of the state of the industry, by money, Yeah. So like what's trendy, what'll sell, and then like, they kind of go from there. And, shooters are trendy. Fortnite, So.
and Fortnite had a trailer, which I was just like, please go away. Like, delete yourself. Like, just, like, I don't, like, cool. Like, I bet you, Fortnite's a great game. People love it for whatever. I liked Fortnite for the time I played it. But honestly, it's just like, dude, you're going to make the money. I don't even know why you need to advertise. Like, you know what trailer was completely unnecessary? And I honestly was like, I think... It kind of made me angry was the Among Us VR trailer. Like, it honestly didn't even feel like a trailer. It literally was like, hey guys, we have 5 minutes to submit something to the Game Awards. Send them. Like, it was so disrespectful. And I was like, come on, man. Like, this, like, don't even show yourself. Just show it to your community, because that's the only people who care. Like, I don't know. It made me angry. Like,
it was weird that they even did that, because somebody already did it. First of all, had the first person Among Us, if it's not in VR, and then there's been 1,000 clones. So I don't really get the play either, especially showing it at the Game Awards. Like I don't know.
They paid Geoff a lot of money. Maybe I don't know.
Probably.
I think the last thing I'll say about the Suicide Squad is that I started thinking more about my head about I remember the trailer, and I think and I feel like each of the characters have their own. They have a very unique style. I'm assuming it's just that it's like, oh, like you have Deadshot, and I'm like, okay, I understand. Deadshot's gonna be your standard third-person shooter character with a few flourishes, which I was expecting, and then I was like, oh, then Harley Quinn, okay, she doesn't have power. But they do all kinds of weird stuff with it. I'm like, oh, okay, she has a grappling hook, and she has a gun. She's firing it like Deadshot.
Default.
And then it's like, oh, you have like the fast dude with the boomerang, like he maybe has this weird boomerang placed. I'm like, oh, he has a gun, he's shooting people. And like, oh, you have the big shark King Shark. He's like super strong. It's gonna be like Hulk Ultimate. Oh, he has a gun and he's shooting people. Like it's
every time.
That's what I felt.
It's like a default pattern. They're like, let's just put it on every character because it's easier, and then we'll add like a sub power.
Yeah, God forbid somebody get into the game, play as a shark dude, and be like, "Man, where's my gun?"
Yeah, that's what I felt like. And so it's kind of like the only difference between even though it's not true, it came off that way in a sense of like the Arc Raiders game where I'm interested more so because they're kind of split off of DICE and they're trying to do something different, but at the same time it's a it's a shooter, but the large difference between this game and another thing is the aesthetics. If that makes sense. Like sometimes a trailer, all it can communicate is that the filter on the video and the music, this one's different because this one's playing 80s music and the filter looks different. that's what I felt
should
like.
Feel different, Yeah, I this makes me think of a different game, and the feeling that it invokes. So I don't know if you guys have ever. I personally haven't played Hellblade, the original one, but I know a lot of what it's about and how it's about kind of like mental illness. And dealing with mental illness, and it's one of those games that looks beautiful. It looks like it has something to say. And Hellblade 2, first of all, looks like Attack on Titan. First, let's talk about that.
Definitely stole their thunder.
But to me, like that's the kind of game that really interests me because I'm really in a point in my life where I really want to play a game that's different. And like kind of going to Marcus's point, like, yeah, like I've played first person shooter. Matter of fact, there's a game, I can't remember what it was. I just said that I just noted it just looks like Apex Legends with like robot pets. That's what I was thinking to myself.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
It's like I hate when I think of games and I know from a marketability, like, like you're saying, Marcus, like marketability and kind of like you mentioned, Kyle, like it's like people need to be able to like connect to a brand quickly when they see it in a 30-second trailer. But I love games that feel like they're doing something different. Like they're really trying to like communicate, like, and that's probably why It Takes Two won this year. Like it seems like it's such a different game. And like Hellblade II, Senua's Saga or whatever it's called. Like to me, I'm like, I haven't played the first Hellblade, but I almost want to go play it because I know the second one's coming. Like I just want a game that feels different, and so I don't know in general. I don't know if that's how y'all are feeling in general.
Seeing a sequel kind of has that effect, right? It's like the first one must have been good enough to elicit. I mean, sometimes they make a sequel anyway, but it seems like that's becoming, I guess, a positive trend. Is that if an idea dies, they don't just keep pumping out the same game without it. The first one being notable at least. So I think you're probably onto something with that Hellblade 1 being worth a look, because I haven't played them either. Just because the first one, I'm going to be honest, it looked kind of boring. Like it looked like it was just a movie, and I don't play games for movies. So, because it looked great, but I saw some gameplay and it looked really slow. Maybe it was just the moments I saw that were, had the highest frame rates. So that's the one that they were showing. But I was never interested.
Yeah. I've played through Hellblade. On PC, and the best thing I can say, have you played Deathloop?
Yeah, it's the game of the year. It's the game of the year. It's one of the best games I've ever played.
Anyways, okay, it's not like Deathloop, but I honestly wouldn't say your initial thoughts are actually different than what the game actually is, Kyle. So the big thing about it is like I think Senua has schizophrenia. It's very the whole like if you play the game, play with headphones on, because like they use binaural audio for the voices, and so you're constantly hearing voices of her like different parts of her speaking at all the time, and so you kind of feel like, oh wow, like the trauma and the pain she's going at the same time is affecting it. It's like it's affecting her, but you can feel it because it's happening to you, and so it can be grating, and when it's grating to you, it's grating to her, but you can't turn it off.
That's cool.
And so like it's a game that's marketed on its. So the one thing I love about, so some people say like, oh, Marcus, you're too invested in graphics. No, it's not graphics. It's immersion. Like the biggest thing that a game can do better than anything else is immerse you.
100%.
Like, and the things that make me feel immersed, I love. So Hellblade, honestly, as a video game, I don't think it's that standout, really. Like it's like the way everything you've seen of it, it's about that, if not a little bit worse. And I love action games. It's not a great action game. I mean, some people might disagree, but like it is a cool experience. There's it having a sequel is kind of interesting with where the game goes. So like it's like, like, and it sounds like the developers might just be kind of just saying like, oh, even though it stars Senua, it's just a different story or something.
Oh.
But like what I would say about Hellblade 2 is that I'm interested in it. I wasn't blown away by the gameplay of the first game, and like after I enjoyed the experience I had going through it, but there's nothing about it that says, hey, like I'm excited to kind of go through that again.
That's interesting.
And so like with this, it looks very much in line with how the first one was in terms of how it's going to play. Like it's very scripted, it's very linear, the movement's pretty restricted. It's very visually, like the big thing about Hellblade at the time was that it's one of the few AA games. You had a small studio with a decent budget make a really high quality game, and they focused on the limited, thing they had, a very limited scope, and they made a really high quality product in a limited scope. This time, of course, they have the budget. They're owned by Microsoft now, and they're using Unreal Engine 5. The game looks amazing in terms of graphically. It's stunning. But like gameplay wise, like it looked more of the same in the first game, and
like playthrough then.
It's like, yeah, like I feel like, yeah, it's gonna be immersive, but for me, like I'm more hesitant. I'm like, oh, is it gonna actually offer a different experience than the first game? Because like, I mean, yeah, like it's cool that people can get a little bit of understanding what schizophrenia is like, and what it's like to kind of deal with that and try to live a life. But
it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that. That you both have said something about, like, Kyle, you said you're not super interested in playing a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, and kind of like you said, Marcus, like, oh, there's gameplay, but it's kind of linear. It's very interesting because I've recently had this experience where I've almost wanted that out of random games from time to time, where I've almost wanted to just like not play the game as much, but more experience the story and what it's trying to tell, like even in God of War, like I like the game and I like the gameplay, but like God of War, the God of War on the PS4, some of the stuff that it does with the narrative is super cool and super interesting to me. And I like where they're going with it. So sometimes, like, I'm telling you, one time Shailene was just walking, doing her own thing. And it was like in like kind of a cutscene period of time. And she stopped, like she turned her like computer off and like sat down and was just watching it because it was like so immersive, because like I was playing it, but it was like feels like you're in a movie. And I'm like, I wonder if there's a space for more games like that, like more of like the walking simulators, but like that actually aren't stupid. So sorry,
fair enough.
I just had to be real. So I don't know. I feel that. I haven't played the first one. I mean, I'll say this, like the trailer was like interesting. Like I wouldn't say that it made me go, man, I got to play it, but it made me go, wow, they made a second one. But you know what's funny? The game that they made a second one to, but I'm like, I don't know if I really care, is Plague's Tale Requiem or whatever it was called.
Oh yeah.
Like where I just call it Rat Simulator.
It is
22. Like, 3,000.
Like I don't know if y'all have played it, but every time I saw that game, I was like, man, they really want you to move these rats. Like,
oh, them rats, bro.
Them rats, boy. Like, it has a gameplay, but it's about them rats in that fire. Like,
I feel like for them it's a marketing issue. So I give it this. I'm actually playing. I say that I kind of stopped for a bit for various reasons. But like I've not because of the game itself, but
I got you.
I
Life,
get caught up in
other
stuff.
the rats.
Yeah, life. But yeah, I they offered it for PS Plus, right? So I'm playing it on the PS5. It's actually like I'm enjoying it. Like it's basically like a poor man's Last of Us. Like it's kind of modeled like that. And they have rat sections of like, but there's which is funny, but it's super like it's not like a giant portion of like the game.
Right,
and so like
they really made it seem like it's just you fighting, you just firing rats. Like
it's even in their logo. There's a rat.
Yeah, like but so the thing is that like, so plagues, rats, like they go together, and like the rats are like a sign of like the plague that's going on and stuff like that. At least it's the amount I'm going through the game. But like, and they you deal with them, but the majority of the game isn't dealing with rats. So like, yeah, like I enjoy what I have. I think I'm like 80% of the way through the game.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So I'm actually interested in the new one. I do hope they expand upon the gameplay, because that one's also a little bit of like the Hellblade type thing, where like it's I enjoy this. I enjoy the immersion that somehow I'm surprisingly immersed in the experience, and it's pulling me along, and I like where it's going. And that's cool, but it's one of those things where it's like you can't just do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
Because like you got to have other stuff going for you. You
More
know,
rats.
at that point.
We got more rats,
Yeah.
more fire.
Yeah,
Bigger
not enough rats, not enough fire.
Yeah.
I played through the first one a little bit. I think it was either a demo or I got it for free and just lost interest. But like the first level or whatever that demo was, it was all about the rats. Like they introduce you to the little girl and her brother, but then you're immediately thrown like, hey, these are rats. Don't walk into them or you die. And then it teaches you how to control the rats because there's guards, and I guess if the guards see you, then you're in trouble. But like you're making the rats eat people, and so it's like, I don't know, man. Even though you said it wasn't, I'm still convinced it's all
Rat
about
Simulator
the rats.
2020.
Yeah, like ultimately, yeah, like the rats are the star of the show. Like actually, like it turns out it's revealed that the main two characters are actually just rats.
An imagination of rats just
In clothes.
But I feel like the reason why is because like I'm not doing like the rats are a part of the game, but they are the equivalent of the game's puzzle sections. That's what I would say. Like I would say it's more of like a stealth Last of Us game that
Rats of Us.
instead of having puzzles, they have rats.
I want somebody in the comments to count how many times rats was said in the last 5 minutes, because I was dying. Just like rats. Did rats? Yeah,
it's losing its meaning.
It's just
You know what? The game is about rats. I'm sorry. What am I doing?
Rat Simulator 2020. So we're running up here on time a little bit, but I did want to mention a few games and just kind of get your guys' quick thoughts about it. One was Slitterhead. I thought that looked really cool. I'm interested to see where it goes. It's apparently from what's his name, the Silent Hill director, and it reminded me of Parasite, the Maxim. What do you guys think of the Slitterhead?
Oh, you already know I have no interest in that.
I know you. I was gonna say it, but I was like, I'm gonna let Kyle say it himself.
Zero.
I might be confused, but I heard them say mobile game, and that completely shut me down.
Oh no!
At the beginning, they said new mobile. They said new mobile experience, and I said,
no.
So like,
I
could have been wrong, but because I thought I heard that, I completely checked out watching it. I completely said no.
Yeah, it basically looks like Parasite the Maxim. If it's a mobile game, oh man, I don't even want to look it up. Let's move on. Okay, so this is random, but I mean it was random in general. But Golum, the untold story of what in like.
Oh yeah,
the way that the trailer made it seem is that it's like a survival puzzle game where like your like goal is to slink around and use the environment or something to kill people. I don't know. What did y'all think of that? Do you think it's gonna? I mean, it's Golum, so.
Okay, don't laugh, but it looks like a Plague Tale, like Lord of the Rings. That's what the gameplay is.
It's about
rats.
More orcs.
Just orcs.
So yeah, I'm not interested in it at all. Not because it's like Plague's Tale, but because it's like Plague's Tale.
The graphics were what got me. Like, I appreciate them, going out on a limb.
His neck, bro. His neck.
But
son.
like the first time I saw him, I was like, "Is this a Toys to Life game? Like, why does Gollum look like that?"
His neck looks so jacked up in his eyes.
Everything about it. I was like, "Where's the butt? Like, this is like one of the largest franchises in the world, isn't it?"
Yo, I have a like this suspicion that this game is never gonna come out. Like I had this feeling like they revealed it and they were like, you know what? Oops. Let's not do this. It's gonna secretly disappear. Like, we're never gonna hear about it, or that it's a mobile game. So I mean,
okay, deep cut. Remember Deep Down?
Deep Down.
Down.
That's
the only reason why I bring that up is because the way you're describing it is going to be like this game that's kind of like, and it just shows up.
Deep Down, and just never hear about it again.
Then you never
Oh
hear about it again.
yeah.
And then when people bring it up, they act like it never existed.
Yo, yeah, because that game looked so gangster. Because it was like down in a dungeon. It looked kind of like what do you call it? Dark
DRT?
It looked
Soulsy.
like a PS5
Oh.
game.
Yeah, like it was Dark Soulsy, but yeah. Oh my goodness, that game never happened. That's a
I don't
fever
remember
dream.
that one.
Yeah, look it up. It looks super interesting.
Deep
I don't know
down.
if it was just it was like an E3.
The Penta-Ray engine, yeah, and it had like it was a PS4 game that was doing movie quality fluid simulation, and I was just like, is that possible? Turns out it wasn't.
I know who was the director, Peter Molyneux. He was
Of course.
No.
The Rat King himself.
The Rat King himself. A true Plague's Tale. Peter Molyneux, the movie. It's a game.
They canceled the game and the engine. They was like, let's go mail Capcom's new engine, like Panta-Ray. But anyways, Golum, deep down, yes.
They just went into the studio and just like delete. Just delete this whole thing. It never happened.
Like this the computer it's on? This the one?
So I wanted to say one quick thing, and then I wanted to end it off with something kind of. Well, you'll see what I mean. So I wanted to say, first of all, I thought it was really cool that they had the award for the most accessible game or innovation accessibility, because I was like, yo, like studios are really going for like to really make sure that audiences can play their game. Like seeing that like Forza literally had what do you call it? Sign interpreter in their game is crazy. Like they went
that's next level.
Above and beyond to really like approach their audience. Like I was like, of course you gotta have a budget for that, but I just want to shout out to Forza 5 for even doing that. Like, you know, I'm not a deaf gamer, but I really do appreciate like them trying. You know,
Forza won the best sound design too.
Oh, not surprising. Have you ever seen how they do their sound like design? It is crazy. Like they really go and get every engine sound. They go through and like tires on different ground. Like these dudes really care. Like it's so
it's
crazy.
like a simulation
I thought they
game.
use Fruity Loops.
They just use Fruity Loops.
That there were some arguments about that in Returnal too. Some people were arguing that like Returnal should have won that. So I'm surprised. Not that Forza doesn't deserve it because like it's great, but like I was surprised about that. Another one of those where I'm like, man, I really need to play Returnal.
Returnal's up there.
The only thing you got from the VGAs is I really need to play Returnal. And rats.
Oh, Forspoken. I forgot about
Forspoken.
Oh, Forspoken.
That's the way to
I mean, it might as well be called that.
So I wasn't gonna say this. I was gonna just kind of slide by this, but I said this when we were talking about Gamescom or whatever it was, where like Forspoken felt really strange to me, like the voice actress and what they were going for, and it kind of makes sense now because she's British, and it's like she's trying to be like this American street kid, but like
disconnect is
it just the disconnect is strong. Like, and she seems super nervous on the stage. Like that whole interaction was super weird.
That game still looks like an Unreal Engine 4 tech demo game to me. Like,
yeah,
I don't see any like appeal yet.
It's a lot of flowy stuff.
I think I thought I was crazy because like well I'm one of those weird people who get on like game forums and stuff but yeah, I felt the same way. So this was, I think it's using Luminous Studio, which is what Final Fantasy 15 used. And it's and it has that same problem where I was just like, man, I feel like I'm watching a tech demo, and everyone's just like, they're like, oh wow, it's magical powers. And, you know, it's an isekai, which everyone loves, apparently. And, like, you know, it has these certain elements to it. And it's like, yo, like, I feel like everyone's excited about, like, the things that are being put in this game. But I'm like, where's the game?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, you know, it's just a pretty tech demo. Like, and they showed, like, gameplay recently. And it's just her just, you know, running around this giant empty world. And then once enemies pop up, it's just like, oh, look at all these cool graphical effects.
I throw a fireball.
Try to see them.
Yeah.
Try to see them through the motion blur.
Yeah, and that was the same problem that Final Fantasy 15 had when it first did it. Like they were just like, look at all this cool stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty, but I'm like, it doesn't look
So
fun.
Fun. No,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. Yeah, I think I don't think I think you both. I honestly didn't think about it that way, but yeah, it does feel like a tech demo. It feels soulless. Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we're just trying to show you the features of this engine, but we don't really actually have a story. Like it's like they got these voice actors and these motion capture. Like, oh, I'm an actor and I'm going to kill you. Like it seems like they added all that, but it doesn't actually like. It's not going to actually become a game. It's like we're just going to show you what a game could be.
Yeah. Like even after seeing the tech demo, I mean, maybe it was before, but like the Matrix, that was an actual tech demo, and that looked like more of a game than this does.
So
Yo.
hold Matrix for a second. Marcus, don't say anything, because that's going to be the last thing we talk about before we end today. Okay?
Oh, I have something to bring up before
Okay.
then. This.
So yeah. I'm just saying, hold any Matrix talk until the very end. But because I want Marcus to pitch the Matrix, because I haven't got a chance to play it yet. So I want him to say what he said to me because it got me so hyped. So anyway, what were you gonna say, Kyle? You had something you wanted to share. You're saying?
Yeah. So I think that there was a award that I felt like was probably it was kind of cool, but at the same time it had to be kind of embarrassing. But like the most anticipated game.
Oh yeah, Elden Ring.
Elden Ring got it for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
And like, is that a good thing or is it bad? Because like on one hand they're keeping the hope alive, but it's like
I feel like it's a little bit of like smoke and mirrors, because it was like most anticipated game Elden Ring, and then immediately after that it was an Elden Ring like reveal, a trailer or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know.
I have to put in like, okay, I am completely biased because I love everything FromSoft produces, and FromSoft is so we always know, right? They have taken the gaming culture by storm, right? Like now everything is compared to Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Like this is a Dark Souls like
Mhm.
or some kind of boring game, right?
Mhm.
So the amount of like abuse Geoff Keighley and just the rest of every game studio, like for every award show or not award show, but like E3 or whatever, was like, where's Elden Ring? Where's Elden Ring? We want Elden Ring. And it's got bigger and bigger. And then finally last year he revealed it. And everyone's like, yeah. And now everyone's just like, we want the game to come out, and somehow like Geoff Keighley is somehow been attached to that, where it's just like he's somehow holding Elden Ring back from the
Give
masses.
it to us.
So even though I was like, even though we have a release date, it's still like, Geoff, you're the reason why this game isn't out yet.
Get out of the way, Geoff.
I think it was at Gamescom. No. It wasn't Gamescom where they did a trailer.
It was the Summer of Games.
Yeah, they
with Geoff Keighley where they debuted.
He was there
last year.
Yeah, and then they shared another trailer this year before this trailer. So it's like, but it's always like associated Geoff Keighley. So yeah, he's getting the worst of it. My pot friend. Hey, pot friend. He just kept saying pot friend. I was like, please stop, Geoff. Please stop.
That pot was struggling.
It really was. Some dude on a weird unicycle thing. He was like, oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah, some parts of that just made me go like,
Yeah.
Like it was cool in somebody's head, but then like they didn't test it.
They're like, oh, this looks so bad.
This is definitely the Oscars for video games. Right?
So
Friend.
I wanted to mention one last thing, and then we could talk Matrix and in general. But did y'all see the dude who came out for GTFO and presented that game? Do y'all remember that? It was like
I remember seeing the game.
The GTFO game was like, it's like it looked kind of like Dead Space multiplayer, where it's like a whole bunch of people running around and they're fighting kind of like these zombies, but they kind of
DRG too.
Yeah, like it kind of had that feel. But the dude who was with Geoff Keighley presenting it, go back and watch it if you don't remember. He was
that awkward silence.
he was so nervous, and Geoff was trying to save this man. He was like, yes, what's the game?
Oh,
like,
that guy, I do remember. Oh, I felt bad for that man too.
I felt
he couldn't remember what the game was about, like when it was coming out, like, or like when, I guess, because it's been an early access for like 2 years, but yeah.
He was like, oh, it's been a long time since we've seen you. You know, we're happy to have you. He's like, yes.
And it was right after the accessibility part, so he just threw that in there. He was like, we've been trying to make the game really accessible,
more accessible. I'm pretty sure that wasn't on the card. Like,
no,
he just completely fell apart. And also, it had one of the worst voiceovers for a trailer I've ever heard. Like, it was clearly just a developer doing it. Like, it was so bad. He's like, in a world where people are dying. Like, it was so bad. I was like, oh, this is just so awkward. This whole studio is just filled with super awkward, like, European dudes.
The same guy.
I honestly think it was him. I 100% think it was him. Like, like, not even joking. I really think it was him, because it was just not good. It was just not good. I said they should have paid someone on Fiverr, because it was a problem.
They should have got the lead from It Takes Two, and to the dude who won Game of the Year awards. They should got him to do the voice.
Yeah, I think it would have been better off to make him try to present that game not knowing anything about it. It would have been a better presentation. That man's a crackhead. All right, so finally, let's talk Matrix. So, like, I didn't get to finish the Game of the Year award. The Game of the Year awards. The Game Awards when it happened, because I was traveling to go to a wedding during the weekend, but I finally got to watch it. But as I was getting ready, the night before to leave, Marcus was like, you need to stop what you're doing and play The Matrix Awakens. He's like, it is so crazy. So first of all, let's stop. Matrix Resurrection, they just, hey, let's have a trailer, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's cool. Let's have, everybody's favorite person, Keanu Reeves. So what is this Matrix Awakens? So is it just an experience, like a demo? Like, what's going on with that?
Did you want me to go, or
Kyle, have you played it?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with it. I haven't played it myself, but I watched somebody else play through it.
Okay, so Marcus, you explain it, because I haven't played it yet. I'm looking forward to this weekend, but yeah.
So, like, I love, like, technology stuff. So, like, especially, like, I'm not a super expert, but, like, learning about video game technology, what goes in between engines and everything. So, like, everything that it was doing was incredible. But so yeah, like, yeah, it's just a tech demonstration. But the amount of interactivity you have caught me by surprise. So, because, like, the first part of the demo is really just kind of like an on rails thing, and it's very much like a graphical showcase. But you can basically just not press anything, and you'll still, like, it'll still finish. And the big thing with the beginning part of it is like, hey, like, it's just messing with you, trying to say, hey, what can you guess is, rendered, and what can you guess is actually real footage? I still don't think, real-time graphics are at the place where, like, we're gonna say, oh, this is real life. Like, it was pretty obvious. Like, some people, I remember watching people react to it, and they were just like, yo, these graphics are incredible. And I was like, yeah, that's because that's a real person. But, like, it's, like, where it really shines was when it starts getting into the actual demo part, where, like, the thing that's impressive is, like, I think you can watch Digital Foundry, where they talk about kind of the ins and outs of it. But which, if you don't know who Digital Foundry is, please watch them. They love talking about, like, video game technology and what kind of goes into games, and it's really cool. But they talk about this, and one of the things is that, like, I'm pretty sure they use the reference head models for for I want to say Trinity and Neo, but Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss from the actual movies, like from not from Resurrections, but from like the original Matrix and Reloaded. And like they do a thing where like you have like the scan of CG scan of current Keanu, and then it turns into young Keanu talking, and like and I think it was explained like, hey, this is the same head model that was used from the original movie. I'm like, oh wow, like, games are at the point where like, I mean, yeah, it's from like 1999 to like 2000, 2 with the Matrix Reloaded, like that era. But I mean, still, like, you have real time graphics that are on the level of a CGI movie from that era. That's incredible.
And it's still tons of polygons.
Yeah, like it's cool, like but yeah, like, so what got me was and how I explained it to Brad, what really got me was the demo. Like, okay, so playing through the demo, I was like, yo, like it, like I felt like I was in the Matrix, even though I was just pressing like one button and shooting cars. Like it was like the amount of physics, the particle effects, just the detail to everything, and I was just like, I can't believe this is real time. And so I'm clicking and stuff is going, and I'm like, oh, it feels just like the first Matrix. Or the highway scene from Matrix Reloaded. The demo ends, and at the end they go through this, you can watch a video of it where they go through like the technology demonstration of like, oh, actually like we're simulating the entire city, and all the traffic is actually a simulation. And like the highway chase, like all the cars tumbling and explosion is done in real time, so it's different every time. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, and this is all this stuff, and I'm like, yo, amazing. Then that part ends, it goes black for a bit, and I was like, okay, is that the demo? And then it kind of fades back in, and then it starts showing the city, and it shows like the character from the demo section kind of walk out of a subway tunnel. And then I was like, yo, okay, wow, this looks amazing. And I was like, but they're not gonna let me play it. and I'm like, that's too much. And all of a sudden, and like she stands out there, and they have that moment where she's just standing there, and I was just like, wait a minute,
am I playing?
No, they are not gonna let me play this.
Yeah.
And so then I like sat there for a second, then I pressed the analog stick forward, and I was just like, oh my god, like this games have ascended. And so that was my impression, and that's why I was like, Brad, you got to do it, because I was like, you get that point where you have that moment, it's like, wow, like the biggest thing I would say was that like, you remember E3 2005? The reason why I put that, because that was the infamous E3 where like the PS3 and Xbox were being announced, and Xbox 360, and like this is the beginning of the HD era. And at that point they're like, it's the HD era, but none of our games really look that great yet, so we're just gonna show you a bunch of CGI stuff, but we're gonna tell you it's in game. And one of the most infamous trailers, it wasn't Guerrilla's fault, but it was Sony's fault, because they decided to lie. They show Killzone 2. Go back and watch the Killzone 2 E3 2005 trailer. And you were just like, they were like, yo, this is in game. And I saw it, and I was just like, yo, it's here. I was showing it to my dad. I was like, he doesn't even care. I'm like, yo, Dad, like games are finally here. This is it. Like, games are like, we're actually playing movies.
It was super epic. I remember that. Yeah.
It was just like, this is incredible. And then I found out, oh, this is fake.
And that was that the scene where it's like you enter through some gate, and then there's all this fighting, and then like the building explodes and it drops, and I recall something like that. But anyway, I might just be misremembering. But anyway.
Not to go too much in that, but it's just more like, yeah, but please go back and watch, because like I watched that then, and I was like, yo, games have made it. But now this demo comes, and I was like, yo, this is the same exact feeling, but I can actually control the person now.
I'm not just watching, I'm actually playing.
And the one thing I will say is you have to see it in person. Like, watching it on a stream on YouTube is not going to do it justice. Like, when I was sitting there on my 55-inch OLED playing this game, or it's not even a game, it's tech demo, I was there, and I was just like, yo,
all right,
and then you could just walk around the city, and I was like they the detail is so intense that like everything is modeled. Like you can zoom in to like the screws on like a bicycle, and they're individually rendered. Like
That's crazy.
chain link fences. Like you know how you see a fence in a game is just an alpha texture,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always like like you zoom in on the fence and you like they rendered the fence. Oh my gosh, they like
Wow.
and it's high detail, and so
Man, I gotta play
yeah, and
this
the last
game,
thing
man.
I'll say is that you can even drive, and you can get in the car and drive and get on the highway, and the traffic has its own AI, and I was like they went too far. Like I was fine just watching stuff. Like I can run around the city. I can, you know, I can mess with the AI, and then I can get in a parked car and drive around the city and do stuff, and like the AI responds to me, and I was just like,
Above and beyond.
this is
Man,
this
Well,
this is
that's
amazing.
what you call under promise, over deliver. That's
yeah,
what you want. That's what you
there it
want.
is.
And as we're wrapping up here, I definitely wanted Marcus to share this, because when he was telling me, I was like, yo, this thing sounds so gangster. I haven't got a chance to play it. And I think it's interesting that you watched it on YouTube, Kyle, because I was actually noting that one thing that's happened in our digital landscape is that sometimes it's hard to describe an experience that like YouTube videos. You'll watch somebody doing something, like watch somebody play Dead Space. I promise you, you'll never be able to understand what Dead Space is like, unless you play it. Marcus was there when I played Dead Space.
I was traumatized.
He was traumatized, but to this day, to this day,
To this day.
To this day.
I struggle thinking of ever playing Dead Space again. Like, it
looks intense.
It was darn near traumatic. I can't. It's hard. Like, unless you were there, it's like being in war. Like, unless you were there, you don't know. Like, you could watch somebody play it, but it is so different.
Yeah. So I watched shout out to the samurai Corey Kenshin play it, and so that's why I felt like it was good. But now after hearing Marcus's, recantation,
his
of
testimony,
firsthand,
he just
touched my life, touched my heart.
Let me tell you about the Matrix.
It awakened something in me.
Like I was waiting for that next generation moment. Like Ratchet and Clank got close. It's pretty, but it's Ratchet and Clank. Like it's
Ratchet.
Like fundamentally, it feels like the same game I played on the PS2. Not to knock it. It's just like it's doing a lot better. It's prettier, but like even though this wasn't a game, I was like, at least show me something. Show me something where I just don't feel like I'm just gonna be playing the prettier versions of PS4 games.
Yeah, no,
And that demo gave me hope. So
what you're saying is they had rats in it.
The rat demo, the rat physics was on the next level.
Oh no, they didn't have New York rats. I don't like we ain't ready for that.
You didn't get robbed by a rat.
Yeah.
By a rat.
By a rat. So yeah, man. There's so many more games to talk about. There's so many more awards. We've already hit like the 2-hour plus mark on this particular podcast. So if you haven't checked out the VGAs, please do. It's a great one. If you haven't checked out the Matrix Awakens, that's clearly something you need to do. And if you haven't played Dead Space, I recommend not doing it unless you're ready. Hey man, it was a good time. I'm looking forward to the coming months and years, the games that are coming. Once again, it reminds me that like I'll probably never play any of these games because I never have time, and I need to figure out a way to make this happen. Like I just like watch from the distance, but I feel like YouTube exists, so I can at least watch people play games. Maybe I won't really know what it's like, but at least I know. You know what I'm saying? Any last remarks from you guys before we end for the day?
It was awesome having you here, Marcus, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm happy to be here. It might be, another 3 years before I'm on, but I really enjoyed the time I had. And I'm just happy that games are being celebrated, and the industry is thriving and is going to continue to thrive. I just can't wait to see where it goes from here, even if we probably won't see those true, real next gen experiences until 2023. But I'm here for it.
Alan Wake 2023. Yeah, no, I appreciate you, Marcus, for joining us. Married Steve is not able to join us. What do we call it? Sneeze. Married Sneeze.
Sneeze.
And,
what's his last name now that he's married? His last name changed, right?
Yeah, actually, she told him that he can't have a last name anymore. So he's just Steve. It's like, that's my last name now, not yours. Appreciate you, Marcus. With that, let me go ahead and ban Marcus from the chat so he can never come back.
Kick him.
No, I'm kidding. But man, it was good to have you. As always, thank you, Kyle, for being here. And
it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Marcus, for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
But yeah, man, for everybody listening, always know that you can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on YouTube. We're now on Twitter, baby. We got a Twitter. So holla at us. Follow us on Twitter at the SAB Podcast. At the SAB Podcast. We'll definitely be on Twitter popping out, letting people know what's happening. But once again, thank you for following and watching and listening. We really appreciate y'all. Thank you, Super Agile Bro Nation. We love y'all. And until next time, peace.
Peace.